in 540 BC, the time Spartan boys are turned into real men. When the child is born, he is observed thoroughly by a Spartan baby inspector over a cliff where hundreds of feet below lay the bones of dead babies who did not make the cut. If there are any signs of weakness, sickness, or problems with the baby, he will be killed. When they turn 7, they are separated from their mothers. The boys learn how to fight and train at an early age and go through an initiation of rites, like getting whipped without showing emotions, and being tested out in the snow and cold to fend for themselves before they can return home. And so the boy returns to his people as Sparta king. King Leonidas. Life is moving along in Sparta when a Persian messenger rides through the city. He holds the skulls of other dead leaders in his hand and asks to speak to King Leonidas. The messenger and his guards are led to the king, where he explains that he is here on behalf of Xerxes, the Persian god king who has already taken out thousands of cities and who wants the people of Sparta to bow down to him. When Queen Gorgo makes a comment, the messenger gets upset and asks how a woman can talk like that among men, and she shoots back that Spartan women are the ones who give birth to real men. The messenger warns King Leonidas to carefully think before he replies to what Xerxes has asked of Sparta. But the king turns on the messenger and points his spear at his face, making the Persian back up to the edge of the black pit. The messenger is outraged and says you cannot kill a messenger, and Leonidas roars back, "This is Sparta," before he shoves the Persian and his guards into the pit. Leonidas climbs the mountains to consult the oracle and the ephors, who are priests of the gods. After giving the ephors gold and explaining his plan to go north to corner Xerxes' army, he asks what the oracle says. The oracle is the most beautiful young girl of Sparta, and her beauty is also her curse, as she is forced to stay up in mountain with these ugly ephors to be able to tell these futures. She says that Sparta will fall. The ephors say that he cannot go to war when there is a celebration coming up anyways. The king is upset as he cannot just sit and do nothing. In the next scene, one of the councilmen, Theron, paying the ephors with gold from the Persians for telling the king that he cannot go to war. The next morning, Leonidas and his captain are looking through his army of 300. He notices that one of the men is the captain's son, and the king comments that he is too young, but the captain insists that he fight. The son looks proud to be among these awesomely strong-looking warriors. Theron and the other councilmen join the king and ask what he is doing. Theron says that the oracle has spoken and he knows the rules. The king says he's merely out for a stroll and that these 300 men are just his personal bodyguards. Theron sarcastically asks where the king will be walking to, and he replies the north. Theron replies to Hot Gate. The Persians are coming from the sea. Before they head out, the queen gives Leonidas her necklace and says to come back with his shield or on it. While they are marching out, they meet with another group, the Arcadians. The leader of the Arcadians says they heard that Sparta was going out to fight against Xerxes, and they are here to join. But he is surprised at the small number of men the king brought with him, to show how arrogant and cocky the Spartans are. Leonidas asked one of the soldiers from Arcadia what his profession was. His reply, a sculptor. Another was a blacksmith, another a potter. Leonidas looks back at his army of 300 and roars what their profession was. The Arcadians are met with thunderous hoo, and the king says that he has more soldiers than you have. The Arcadians are impressed and everyone marches down to the ocean together. Meanwhile, the queen wants to talk to the councilmen to ask if they will send an army to help Leonidas fight against the Persian army. She has one of the councilmen try to set up the meeting, and he says that she will be able to speak in 2 days. She says that the king may not have 2 days. When the group finally get to the beach area, the Arcadians are starting to doubt themselves when they see how many Persian boats are in the ocean. That night, the Greeks' gods send a huge storm to turn over and destroy some of those boats, and at first, the Arcadians are happy, but in the morning the number of boats seem to have not diminished. The other Spartan men are happy as they can only hope to finally meet their match, someone that can give them a cause to have a beautiful death. They want to die for a good cause, for their country. As they are setting up a wall of stone, one of the Xerxes' messengers comes up to demand, once again, that Sparta bow on their knees. The messenger mocks the wall of stones the Spartans are building before he sees that in between those stones are the dead bodies of some members of the Persian army that was in charge of the lookout. One of the Spartans insult him, and with aliens, before he can stretch out his whip, the Spartan jumps and cuts off the messenger's arm, orders him to tell Xerxes that the fight is on. While this is happening, a hunched-back monster named Ephialtes, that has been following them, walks up to Leonidas and his captain, who wants to help fight. He warns the king that there is another opening that the Persians can get through. He has a strong thrust with his spear, but cannot raise up the heavy shield he carries. The king says he cannot fight with the Spartans, because the Spartans use their shields to cover not only themselves but also cover the man to their left, and since Ephialtes cannot raise his shield, he is of no use. Ephialtes gets extremely upset. In the first battle shows how strong the Spartans are. In the narrow opening they stand and wait while the first group of Persian armies come out to fight. They easily beat the army, killing them all in tactical formation, slaying them like they brought them to war and finally driving the rest into the sea. The Spartans wins, losing no one. While they catch their breath, the rest of the Persian army shoots out so many arrows that they block the sunlight. In unity, the Spartans fend off the arrows with their shields and call them cowards. While both sides take a time out to recoup and clean up the battlefield, Xerxes comes out to meet with Leonidas. Xerxes is a 7-foot bald and pierced god king. He again offers Leonidas a chance to bow down to him, but the king says that it will not happen as his thighs are sore from killing the first Persian army. Xerxes is pissed off and says that he can wipe out Sparta and no one on earth will ever know about them, will never know who they are. He will cut out the tongues and eyes of people who even mention their name, and soon everyone will forget who King Leonidas is or who the Spartans are. The next battle is against the Immortals. They are soulless monsters who have black eyes and teeth that are filed into fangs. They wear those black and gold masks, and their special weapon is this huge chained-up monster. The king chops off the monster head, and the Spartans easily defeat these enemies, though they do lose some of their men. As Xerxes watches on, this godlike deity feels a human chill go up his spine. The next fights have the Persians bringing on as much power as they can, using large-sized animal-like rhinos, elephants from halfway around the world, and magics, but still the Spartans conquer. When Xerxes sees the army losing, he disciplines his generals by chopping off their heads. During one of these battles, the captain's son's head gets chopped off, and he cries out as his heart is broken. It takes 3 men to pull them off his son. The following morning, the king meets with one of his men, Dilios, and asks him to return home to tell the tale of Sparta, to tell everyone, all the Greeks, his story and his 300 men. He knows that they are going to die for Sparta. He gives back the necklace his wife gave him to Dilios to return to her. Meanwhile, the queen is meeting with Theron. She offers him something to drink, to which he asks if it's poison. He says that the councilmen will never allow an army to go to the king, and he insinuates that he can persuade them if she sleeps with him. She allows it, and he roughly starts to have sex with her while telling her, "This will not be over quickly. You will not enjoy it. I'm not your king. Ephialtes has gone to Xerxes." In the tent, there are belly dancers, concubines, contortionists, transsexuals, and slaves. He is in awe of everything Xerxes has to offer, wealth, women, a chance to fight if only he bowed down to him. Ephialtes, mesmerized by everything, agrees and tells him about the second opening, where the Persian army can easily overpower the Spartans. The next day, the queen gets to meet with the councilmen. She gives a great speech to why they should allow the army to go and help the king. Some of the members are touched by what she is saying and is starting to agree with her. When she ends her speech, Theron sarcastically applauds her. He turns against her by saying that why should anyone listen to her, as she is an adulteress. He tells everyone that she came on to him and offered herself to him, but that he is an honest man and turned her down. She gets upset and starts to go after him, but two guards grab her. She struggles to let go, which they do, and when she is free, she grabs one of their swords and stabs Theron in the stomach. When she pulls out the sword, his money pouch also comes free, and as he falls, so do the Persian coins that he's been bribed with. The other councilmen pick one of the coins up and realize he's a traitor, and word spreads quickly. Once again, Xerxes comes out to watch as the Persian army surrounds the Spartans, and one of his minions asks Leonidas to bow down to Xerxes. But this time, Leonidas actually takes off his headgear and puts down his shield and spear and kneels down, but only to compose himself as his huddled group of Spartan men break way, and one member runs up and jumps on Leonidas' back to spear that minion to death. As everyone starts fighting again, the king picks up his spear and throws it where it slices through Xerxes' cheek, but does not kill him. Xerxes is surprised and holds his hand up to his bleeding face. One by one, the Spartans fall, even the king. After facing the sun and saying his last words, "My love," the rest of the Persian army makes sure all the Spartans are dead by shooting a gazillion arrows into the air again. Dilios returns home to give the queen the necklace, and he spreads the word about their victory. It ends 1 year later, where Dilios looks like he's the leader of the Spartan army now, and they are getting ready to fight the Persians again. But this time there are thousands and thousands of Spartans and on command. They run for battle. Thanks for watching.